Dear Lord, thank you for a beautiful new day and for protecting our community from even worse damage. Lord, I think that we fared pretty well, all things considered. We come today to take care of county business in the form of health insurance and Constable, and these are important decisions, and we ask that you grant us the wisdom that we need. Thank you for being here. We turn this meeting over to you and give you the praise. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, today is the third day of October 2014, and we've got an agenda today that deals with a health insurance workshop with CAPS Insurance, our health insurance consultants. And at the conclusion of that meeting, we will probably go into executive session to discuss the matter about replacing our constable's position. But at this time, I'll recognize Steve Capps and Capps Insurance and all of his crew, and Chris from UMR, and I'll let you begin with whoever's supposed to begin.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Can y'all hear me okay? Is that all right? I can put that on there. This is primarily for the recording.
Only for the audio video recording, yeah.
Just I guess a real quick summary, okay, and then we'll kind of get into the details. We received your renewal, which we'll get into in a minute. From the overall perspective, the renewal, the initial renewal, I thought was a little bit higher than what it needed to be. We went back to Sun Life, who is our stop-loss carrier, and negotiated. Really, it was only one item that I had a concern over, and it was the annual attachment point. Okay, we can talk about that in a minute, but that one piece, based on your claims experience, was a little higher than what it needed to be, and in my opinion. And so we negotiated with Sun Life on that, and they brought that number back down to probably really right on top of what I think it should be. Overall, there is a little bit of increase in your anticipated total exposure for 2015, but not anything that's really out of whack. So I was real pleased with the renewal. Now I can tell you we've asked UMR, asked Chris to shop the stop-loss coverage. Unless something really unusual comes back, I probably am not going to recommend that you change stop-loss carriers. We'll just see what the numbers look like. But right at this point, I think the renewal that Sun Life has come out with is fair. One of the things that they did do was, we had a couple of individuals that had higher specific deductibles on because of their conditions when Sun Life originally wrote our stop-loss insurance, and they have removed those additional specific deductibles from those individuals. So that was a positive thing. And they did that without us having the product to do that. So
We've had those specific deductibles now for just one year?
No, it's it was, I think,
Since the inception?
Yeah, since the inception, yeah, it was on there with your prior carrier too. So those are gone now. So we don't have anybody that has any higher specific deductibles on them, so which is a good thing.
And why did they do that? Did they believe that they're at the tail end of the money spending on those individuals?
It's just the claims experience has not proven that they needed additional specific deductibles. Okay, so that was a positive thing, and they wound up coming off of their original offer about $200,000. That's about what I thought they were out of whack on, and they agreed to,
$200,000
yeah.
in premium cost?
No, it's an anticipate. What See, the attachment point
Yeah, explain
is
that.
the total of all the claims that fall beneath your individual and aggregating specific deductible.
Now I'm with you. I was
Okay.
not thinking
So,
there.
you know, so it's a moving target. I mean, it's just what happens is when you reach your annual attachment point, then the stop loss insurance picks up and pays 100% of those claims after that. Okay, so you got two types of insurance. You have specific stop loss insurance, okay, which is that right now you're $50,000 deductible. Plus we have an aggregating specific deductible of $60,000. Okay,
Explain that one more time. The
aggregating specific is just a bucket sits over here. Okay, for any one individual, you've got 50,000 plus this bucket over here until it's empty. Okay, and this bucket has $60,000 sitting in it. That's basically your money. All right, so if you only have one specific claim for the year, it takes $110,000 before of paid claims before the stop loss insurance is going to pay that. Okay, if you have 3 or 4 that fall into that and start going over that 50,000 specific, then all of those are reaching in that bucket and you know, reducing what you have left there. Once it's exhausted, then you're just back to $50,000 per individual.
So if you had 3, you pay 50 on each of those 3, which would be 150 and 60 cumulative on all the others.
That's correct. That's correct.
Would be the most you can have.
That's correct. Because we didn't have any specific claims this year, which is a very
How
good
does
thing.
the 200, how does it come in?
Okay, so that 200,000, they had actually figured the attachment point, and I'll show you in a minute when we get to the renewal presentation, but it was like roughly a, okay, so their original renewal was a little over $1.6 million for that number, okay, and what they actually came in, it's not quite 200,000 anyway, about $1.5 million. So it's about 150,000 approximately is what they came off of their renewal.
Okay, and what is that number? What is
Okay, that number represents a figure, okay, that when all of your claims that come underneath your specific deductible, okay, hits that number. It's really all of the total of all your smaller claims, okay, everything 50 grand and less. When that total hits the attachment point, then your aggregate stop loss coverage kicks in and it starts paying 100% after that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can. So it's the part of the claims that it's claims that you're paying that there's no stop loss insurance on.
One
Okay.
covers huge individual spikes, and one covers a wide breadth of heavy but not.
Worst case scenario is basically what you're looking at. Okay, so that number.
If you had 10 people that were very ill during the year, that's when that comes into play. If you had
Could be.
one that had $1 million claim, that one spike, that's where your stop loss coverage.
That's your individual
aggregate.
stop loss. That's correct.
And your attachment
Okay.
point is that
Yeah.
deductible.
We're always, the chances of you ever hitting that number is really slim. Okay, they have very, very few aggregate attachment point claims. I suppose your premium is, your premium is $1,300 a month for that. So they're anticipating that, and how they come up with that number is they look at your expected claims, including trend and a whole bunch of other stuff, and then they put a corridor on there of 125% or 25%, an additional 25% on top of that, and that's the number that they start from. Okay? So they anticipate your claims to be, I'll call it $1.2 million or somewhere along in there. But they put a corridor in there before the stop loss insurance kicks in. It's just part of being self-funded, partly self-funded. So, but anyway, my point is on the renewal, I'm pleased with the numbers that they came out with. I probably do have a recommendation there on changing our specific deductible up a little bit, and I guess I might as well talk about that right now. Did you want to, before we get into benefits? Okay, all right, so I'll tell you what to do. Y'all turn to the tab that says Sun Life Renewal. And I want you to go, the page looks like this right here. Okay, it's a renewal spreadsheet.
Yeah, I was already there.
Everybody there? Mike, you there? Okay, all right. So look under your current column. I'm just going to kind of talk briefly about some of these, and then we'll tell you what I recommend that you do for possibility of change. So under current, right now, your individual specific deductible is $50,000. Everybody with me there? Line, okay. Your aggregating specific is $60,000. Unlimited annual lifetime maximum. We don't have to worry about talking about the contract, but a total monthly premium for that specific stop loss insurance you have been paying approximately $22,000 a month. Okay? That's a rate per employee, and if your census changes and that premium changes, but
Per month, you said?
$22,000 per month. And if you step one column over, the renewal, they're asking for a 6% increase, which is $23,777, right? Which, there's less than what we think medical trend is, so that wasn't too bad. But you have an option. I gave you two options. We can increase our individual specific to $60,000, leave the aggregating specific at $60,000, and it reduces your premium to $21,000. That's a $33,000 savings in premium. Okay, you're bumping your specific by 10 grand. All right, so you'd be on an additional $10,000 for any big hit, but you're saving $33,000. So that represents 3 big hits.
Show me the 33,000.
It's not there. Okay, it's the savings between, if you take 21. The difference between 23,777 and 21,051 and annualized is $33,000.
Okay, I'm comparing it. I'm comparing it to the current year.
Yeah,
You're comparing it to the renewal.
Yeah, the renewal, which is what we need to compare it to.
Yeah.
All right.
So $2,700 a month times 12 months. Okay.
That's right. Okay. Renewal option 2 is bumping your stop loss to 70. Leaving the aggregating specific at 60, and it saves you nearly $66,000 a year, which is roughly, again, 3 claims. Okay, because you'd be taking an additional $20,000 of exposure per big claim. You with me?
Yep. Okay,
so either way, you're banking that you're going to have 3 or less big hits in 2015, and we didn't have any this year.
What about the year before?
Have we had it? I don't think so. And we haven't had any specific hits.
Does that mean we're about due?
Well, I don't know, but it's when you're partially self-funded, that's just one of the things that you do. The more risk you take on, the less premium you're going to pay. The more risk you want the carrier to take, the more premium you're going to pay. Okay? So, I mean, I think, Either one of those is a pretty good bet. If you want to take a small step, then I would suggest doing the option one. And
Were we at 60,000 back with Health First, or we
I think
always
so.
been at 50?
I believe,
Much?
no, I think you were,
50, wasn't it?
I think you were at 50, if I'm not mistaken.
So
I don't think we
we've
changed
been at that 50
that.
level for some time.
Yes.
We were
So-
at 40 at one time, then we moved it
I
up.
think when it ended though, it was at 50.
It's at 50.
So, and I don't think, based on your size group, that either one of those is an unreasonable, number. So, anyway, that's something for you to consider. The aggregate stop-loss insurance, is up 5%. It's $100 a month, basically, not even $100 a month on that. So then at the attachment point, what I'm getting at, let's go to the bottom line down there. It says total estimated annual plan cost. Okay. Your premiums you have paid, or you're anticipated to pay for 2014, $283,923 in premium. You see that?
Where's that?
So right down at this is the last numbers down there under current, under total costs. You with me? 283,923. Everybody see that number?
I got it.
Okay, all right. So that's
That's the sum of all your premiums?
that's the premiums. That's correct. Okay, that's your specific stop loss premium and your aggregate stop loss premium. All right. So 283. Your what they estimated your attachment point to be last year was 1,236,000. All right. So your renewal, just move one column to your right. If you don't make any changes to your specific deductible, then your premium is going to go to 301, and your attachment point's $1 million. Might as well call it $1,005,000. Okay, so they're anticipating, based on your claims history, which you're running a little hotter than what you were last year. Still not bad, but you're running a little hotter. Okay.
But they're projecting us to go to
Yeah.
spend more.
Yeah. Probably they're projecting you to spend about $250,000 more. Okay, or thereabouts. Okay.
20% increase they're
Okay.
projecting. Wow.
Hey, Judge, let me give you some figures, some real figures from this year to kind of compare to what they're estimating. I'll write these down on that page or something. Premiums the premium for the stop loss, or really it's all of these, is calculated, or that I budgeted is 282,367. That's what I had budgeted for next year right now. So if you did come over and, for instance, do option 2 at 235, you're going to be $50,000 under what I budgeted. If you do that renewal, if you chose that option, because I budgeted 282 based on prior years.
That's what you budgeted for our premium costs,
Right.
which was pretty much what we spent this year.
That's right. The medical claims for this year so far, that is, are these two numbers added together? I don't have this yet. There's not.
No, Dill's not in these numbers.
Is $988,000 plus I have another $130,000 in claims that have come through the last week or two that haven't paid yet, that will need to be added to that number. Which is going to put you up pretty close to what the $1,200,000 figure did under the current.
Is that just medical, Carl, or did you add pharmacy in there too?
That's going to have pharmacy in it, but it doesn't have dental.
Yeah.
And that's just claims. That's no administration in there, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And that's what that number is in here.
That's correct. Yeah. There's no administration in that number. That's right. Okay. Everybody kind of with me there?
Is that correct? From renewal is $276,000 more dollars? From 1,520,
Yes.
1.796?
That's correct. Now, understand, that's not premium.
That's not premium?
That's not premium.
Oh,
The
No.
premium is the 301 number.
Yeah.
Well, what he's calling premium may be what he means. It's the actual, what we actually pay out of the fund to cover our employees' medical
Well, I
claims.
understand the $1,495 is strictly just
A projection.
A projection.
Yeah, a projection based on what they think is higher cost of medicine and why they're, and maybe they're
Yeah,
thinking.
well, actually, that number is not, that's not your expected cost, okay? That's worst-case scenario
That's
cost,
the worst case scenario.
okay? So, they're expecting...
That number changes simply based on, well, why does it go, explain to me why it goes from $1,236,000 under the current up to $1,495,000 if
Okay.
the stats stay the same?
Well, the stats didn't stay the same.
What changed?
Okay, well, your claims. Okay, so what this is, the $1.2 million is what they anticipated last year. Okay, would be the attachment point now. So understand that
We've
they were
exceeded-
estimating your
we've
claims to be
exceeded what they
around.
expected.
They were expecting your claims to be around 900,000, or a little over 900,000, right at $1 million, really. Okay, and so worst case scenario before your stop loss insurance kicks in would be the $1.2 million, or that $1,236,000.
And we're getting, and we're close.
Which surprises me that you're that close.
130. You're at $1,130,000. So you did more than they thought you would do.
Right.
You got kind of close to where they would have to kick in, so they can push that number on up.
Okay.
Did they tell you when they were using the $1,495,000 what they expected your losses to be?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just, let's see here.
Because like you said, they expected our losses like this year to be 900,000, so that put the other $1,200,000. Did they have numbers on?
We might as well call it $1.2 million. $1,196,000 is what they anticipated.
So they're anticipating that's what they like for this year.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so everybody kind of, now understand, see, if you raise your specific deductible, okay, then that means that you're going to have more claims that are going to fall underneath that deductible, right? So that means your attachment point's going to move up accordingly. All right, so that's why you see your attachment point going from $1,500,000 to $1,550,000. And then over with the 70,000 specific, it's $1,600,000.
Yeah.
Because you're anticipating more claims to fall underneath that specific deductible. Okay?
I understand those
Okay.
increases. I was a little
Okay.
confused when the
Yeah.
stats stayed the same, why it was going up, but they're just
Yeah.
bumping up the expectations.
That's right. Okay, and it's based off your claims experience, what it is. You had a couple of pretty rough months, which we can talk about in a minute, but they started, looked like they were going to improve. Now, Carl's comment, got some recent stuff in, let's just turn to the very last page of your book. The data tab, very last page of the book. Okay, so this is the 9 months running totals. Probably doesn't have some of the all of your September claims in there. Okay, so you had under the billed amount total of about $1,858,000 that was billed. You had some that's not covered, so $1,600,000 is covered. Discounts $700,000. So you subtract that, you wind up with allowed amount of $928,000. Patient pays $131,000. Coordination of benefits, a couple of grand is all we got back there, and they wind up paying $794 for that period.
9 months.
Okay, that's 9 months, and if you take that, divide it by 12, divide it by 9 times 12, okay, apply a little trend to it, and then multiply it times 12, and you annualize that. That's how they come up with that $1,200,000 number. Right? But you can see that in June, you had a really big month in June. 168, you know, in July, 108, but then it's kind of been trending downward a little bit, but obviously we didn't have all of September's claims in this report, so.
And nobody hit the stop loss.
Nobody's hit the stop loss yet. Okay. So, let's see here what I want. You know, as far as admin goes, virtually no change in admin. There's just a very slight increase there. So,
Where are you back to now?
if you want to look at it, we can go to the very first part of the section, UMR renewal. You see your current fees at 35 under medical claims, 35.25, and the renewals 35.96. And then they give you actually for 2016, they give you a price for your admin, giving you a look forward there. There is a buck included in the renewal. They actually eat that in 2016, right?
Well, no, what we did was our medical claims administrative costs had gone up a little bit higher than that. However, I knew that we were going to have that dollar fee down here, the medical and pharmacy integration, because it's part of the healthcare reform requirement for 2015. So I negotiated back to the underwriter and got your medical claims administration lowered to offset that $1.
So on an annualized basis, it's almost no change in the actual cost to process the claims. Okay, and the fees associated with the network and those sort of things. So practically flat there.
So that's $37, right? $35.96 plus $38 a time. That's
Yeah, that's your monthly fee, yep.
So any questions as far as admin goes? I don't think we need to spend just a whole bunch of time there, but so let's talk about go to your network tab. Before we get Chris to her checklist, the network tab is going to show you where your charges are coming from and what kind of discounts you're receiving. So if you'll look under eligible charges there, your total in-network charges were $1,622,000. So 87.6% of your paid claims were in-network. Is that billed and paid?
That's good.
That's billed. Yeah, those are billed claims, okay? Yeah, billed. All right, so total non-network charge, you had $228,000 of bill charges from non-network providers to out-of-network providers, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay? So right down below, you see your eligible charges. It breaks it down between inpatient, outpatient, physician, you know, where your claims dollars are going. Inpatient discounts 42%, outpatient discount 48%, physician 57.7%, for an overall discount of 51%. Okay, so that's your network discounts is what that is. All right, so turn to the next page. I'll get to my point in just a second. So the next page, you see in-network. Again, it's that $1.6 million number. You save 51% of those bill charges because of United Healthcare's network. But you're out of network. You see the total for out-of-network was $228,000, was the number we had on the previous page. They actually were able to get some discounts on those of about $71,000. So the overall discount was 31% rather than 51%, which is what you should have had. Okay? That cost you $46,000. The difference in that discount cost you $46,000.
That's a first health supplement?
Well, first health supplements. I mean, these other, when they go to an out-of-network provider,
Yeah.
they still have contracts, available for some of those places to get some discounts. Okay, but they're not as good as their normal United Healthcare discount. Okay, so your multi-plan wrap, is 30% discount. First health supplemental, I'm not even sure where that is, but anyway, that discount was okay. But your out-of-network discount, 2.6. I mean, there's no contractual arrangement there. And then, so the total of all your out-of-network charges, you've been getting a discount, or this year so far, only a 31% discount. Right? And had they gone in-network, it'd have saved you 20 points on that, which is $46,000.
How does the size and percentage of our out-of-network compare to years past?
I'm not sure I have that for last year, but I think that is a good bit higher than what it's been in the past.
You actually dropped. Last year, you were at 90.8%, almost 91% in network utilization.
Last year?
Last year.
The year before?
Yep.
Not the current year, year before?
Right.
That's right.
Year before.
First year with you, okay.
It had $61,000 in out-of-network claims, which is still, we want to see your in-network stuff running 95% or better.
Wow.
So, I know one of the things we need to kind of cover today is, suggested changes in your benefit plan. Before I go there, though, is there any questions so far on stop-loss insurance, administration charges, anything like that, before we move on? Okay. So, if you got your benefit sheet, Tony, print out your 2015. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm sorry. We got it. Somebody with a tree down.
Sheriff's Department.
Another one.
Sheriff's Department, another tree down.
All right. So here's the deal. When you're looking at benefit changes, I know some of you already may have some thoughts on, what you. Okay, we'll let Brian get back. Okay. So this is your current schedule of benefits. It's just a plan summary. I would suggest we can talk about the whole thing, but I don't think we need to. Right now, in-network deductible is at $750. Your out-of-network is $1,500. Your annual maximum out-of-pocket in-network is $2,800 for the individual, $6,800 for the family, and then your annual max for out-of-network is $6,000 and $12,000. Co-insurance in networks 90, out of network 60. When I took a look at everything that's kind of going on in your plan right now, just given some other factors that you've got going on, and I know that some of you may be thinking you need to make some adjustments in the benefits, and whatever you do there is fine, but I do know one of the things that we need to address, I believe, is to put more steerage in the in-network, out-of-network. In other words, what I would suggest, and we talked about this before we came over here, but is an out-of-network hospital copay, right? And a per admission copay. You can bump the annual deductible. You can, we think a copay will be more incentive for those folks to go to in-network facilities as opposed to going out-of-network. Okay. We also thought about, and I'm suggesting like $1,000 copay. If they want to go to an out-of-network hospital, voluntarily go to an out-of-network hospital, then each time they admit to that hospital, I'm suggesting an additional $1,000 deductible. Could be more, could be less, but something, when they get there, they know that, hey, I probably should have gone to an in-network facility.
The only thing about that, sometimes you can't go to one of those, Steve. I mean, you run into those situations and
In an emergency situation, though, it doesn't apply. This is admission, so when you do
what do you mean it doesn't apply if it's an emergency?
emergency room benefits, you can't charge someone differently out of network versus in network.
Yeah, we're not talking about emergency. We're talking about a voluntary admission.
I understand what we're talking about. We're
Okay.
not talking about going to the emergency room. We're talking about if you get sent to the hospital.
Right, yeah, whatever, okay.
If you're off somewhere and you have a car wreck and
No, we're not talking about
That's
that.
not the circumstance.
We're talking about knee surgery, or I got,
We're
a
talking
tumor,
about
or
a
whatever.
local doctor that says, you know what, I don't do surgery in Mount Pleasant. I do it down at
Wherever.
my personal clinic, or I do it in Pittsburgh or whatever, and you go, well, I'm sticking with you, doc, and if that's what you say, I'll be there.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So, and there is plenty of providers in United Healthcare's network for them to choose from. Now, I understand if my doctor, if my doctor says, well, I want you to go to this particular hospital, then I have to make that decision whether or not I want to pay the additional to go there, and as opposed to, him saying, no, I disagree and going someplace else. So.
Can we tell if we've got a multitude of a broad spectrum of claims here that are going out of network, or do we have a couple of people that, the only one doctor in the world works on me and I have to go out of network?
Well, we can probably run that report. We can tell you exactly who's going out of network.
Because, if we've got a few situations that, if you look at all the facts and you go, yep, they had to go out of network, I can understand that. If I've got a bunch of folks that are non-act, they're paying most of it, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm all for incentivizing that.
Well, I mean, we can run a report on that and tell you we can tell you who's going out of network, but you could address it from that standpoint too. But I'm telling you, if it doesn't get in their pocketbook, it's not going to make any difference. They're going to do what they want to do. So, and that's up to y'all. You don't have to do that. I'm just telling you that cost you $46,000. And you're trying to figure out ways to save money. Encourage your folks to go in network.
If you're having cancer treatments, you go in.
They're in network.
Almost everybody's down there in network.
Yeah, I mean, there is not a provider issue. Okay, it's somebody saying I want to go to East Texas Medical Tyler rather than Mother Francis, or I want to go East Texas Medical Tyler rather than Baylor, or MD Anderson, or wherever else. I mean, there's plenty of other good alternatives. That's just where they want to go, or that's where their doctor says I want you to go. Most of the physicians have admitting privileges at both hospitals.
well, I know one year we had a situation here a while back that came up, and at that time the company we were with we come in and talk to them and encourage them to stay within network. And I think this is something we need to look at, but at the same time, you've used this doctor for years and years and years, and now they were in network, now they're out of network.
Yeah. I don't think that's the situation here, Mike, but,
Okay.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. You got, with the advent of Obamacare, you have a lot of physicians that are just saying, hey, I'm not taking anybody's insurance. You're going to write me a check.
Now, a lot of,
That's happened, and we're going to see that continue to happen, so,
but there's
yeah,
workers out there that don't have the money just to write a check.
I understand.
I think it would be good when we, after we get through everything, have a meeting and go over with the employees and just tell them if possibility, you can sit and talk with your doctor or contact y'all and
Mike, we
let
do that
y'all encourage.
Yeah, Mike, we do that every year when we do an open enrollment.
Okay.
We talk about
I mean,
in-network, out-of-network
we need to
benefits.
do it every
Yeah.
year just to remind them.
We're obviously not making much impact, though. We did this year, anyway, so.
Well, you're gonna,
Not for the 228, it could have been 550.
Yeah, I don't think it's not one person, I don't believe. We can run a
if
report.
you've been
so.
with this doctor for years, you're gonna want to stay with that doctor, and I understand that.
Yeah, and
You
it's
feel
usually
comfortable.
not the doc that's causing you, it's the in-facility charge, usually is where your deal is. And you don't get those big numbers by just going to your local physician. That's inpatient charges is what most of that is. Okay? So, but I'm just here to tell you what the numbers look like and a solution to do it. If you want to leave it just like it is, that's up to y'all. So,
Got to catch
Okay.
the cost, and that seems
So-
to be one to focus on.
oh, yeah. Yeah, the other thing that we have that's built into your plan is that when they go out of network, that deductible also, with the charges that they incur out of network, also satisfies their deductible in network,
And vice versa.
and vice versa. So,
Those are filling up twice as fast.
And then usually
If
it
you're
does
out of
not
network.
happen. That's,
it's an unusual benefit that you have in your
Let's
plan.
talk about this a minute.
Okay.
Say that again?
So wherever they go, and they meet part of the deductible, it applies to both in-network and out-of-network. Whereas under a traditional plan like ours at our office,
Split the duck.
we have an in-network deductible and we have an out-of-network deductible, and they are separate. They are not integrated. Okay. So as less, so they meet their in-network deductible, well, they only had another $750 that they're looking at for their out-of-network side. So anyway, I mean, there's several things that you can do to encourage steerage to those in-network providers. That's one of them. Hospital copay, bumping your individual out-of-pocket limits from 6 to 10 or something like that, some increased amount that would encourage them to look, go, hey, there is a financial incentive for me to go in-network. It's not much of a penalty right now. I mean, you're talking $3,700, $3,750, worst case scenario.
But sometimes, I just know this one situation where they got to have their medical problems and stuff like this, they've got to get it in a certain place. They don't have an option to go out here because they can't get it here.
Well, I'm just saying there's plenty of options. That's usually not going to be it usually boils down to.
It's so much bigger than what we used to have.
It boils down to a personal choice, Mike, is what it amounts to. Which is fine. I mean, if they want to go, in your plan, they do have the ability to go anywhere they want to go. It's not an HMO,
And I know you tell us this, that, if you need some help, call us, we'll help you, and we'll help you find a place where you can get it's something specialized or whatever. And I understand that. Sometimes I guess we're not listening the way we should to notice, but I know I called y'all and asked you, can I go this way or this way? But we've got to convince people that that's what we need to do. If we're not sure, we need to call you.
Need to check.
See
They can
what
check,
kind
they
of
can-
option you can find for us. And I don't think we use that method enough, and I think we just need to encourage people to give y'all a call and say, hey, this is my situation.
If they would log on to their website,
Yeah.
they could find all the in-network providers. And we kind of talk about.
Or even, if when they're visiting with their physician, just say, make sure you're sending me to an in-network facility. Is the hospital you're going to send me to in-network?
Now, talk about this, and of course, with our situation with Dr. Williams, I don't mind, I don't think he minds me bringing his name up. And I was talking to him about this, and they said a negotiated price. They told me nobody's ever talked to them and negotiated a price. I said, well, I know Tony's talked to you, but I was wondering, have
Well,
somebody specifically called them and negotiated this price?
You talking
Because-
about blood, drawing the blood?
No, I don't know, just different.
Contract, it could be that they're on a 3-year contract, so they're not up for negotiations yet. And, United Healthcare usually goes in and tries to negotiate for multiple years.
What I'm saying is, they said nobody directly, there may have been some negotiation.
He had to have had that negotiation at some point.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. He's just telling me, nobody called.
They may have been involved. Yeah,
There's a signed contract.
Somebody agreed to it.
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
I mean, his information just doesn't show up on there as an in-network
Well, that's
provider.
what I'm trying to get, where I can explain to him, somebody negotiated somewhere at
If you're
some
in our
point in
network,
time.
you signed off on it somewhere.
They told me they were in the network. The only thing not in there is the lab. And the lab, they say, with the negotiation, they don't pay what it costs them to do to run the blood work. So that's why they send it across the street to the hospital.
And they don't get paid much, because I've seen.
No, it doesn't.
It's pitiful.
And it's probably going to get worse with Affordable Care Act, I can tell you. So, I mean, that's why you have Clarksville Hospital closing, and Mount Vernon closing, and Gilmer closing. I mean, they're, Linden. I mean, anyway. But let's not get too far off track on that. We can get started on politics, but we're not going to, okay? So my point is, and I haven't said one thing about changing in-network benefits, okay, boys? If you want to leave in-network benefits alone, that's fine. If you want to bump the deductible a little bit, that's fine. Whatever you want to do there. But, I mean, you got 46 grand hanging out there that shouldn't have been there, or at least most of that.
Well,
Most of
we're
it.
assuming that. We don't know.
Yeah.
If I looked at every
So.
single dollar there, I might go, you know what? They made the right decision going out of network. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's an option for you, and then whatever you want to do as far as just regular benefits goes. I know we've had some discussions about that. My understanding is there's no raise this year. Is that correct on folks? So I know that probably is going to factor into some of your decision-making process. But anyway, you still have an extremely good benefit plan for your employees. Anything you do to adjust your deductible, co-pays, or anything on drug card or anything like that is going to have an impact on the actual claims that get paid. Okay.
This year, Steve, it's $750 a month.
Right up here. Instead of $900 per month, it's $750. Okay. Yeah.
$9,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then the employer contributes for their commitments
Yeah.
based on.
Yeah. And I didn't. Carl, how did your contributions compare to your claim?
Well, we finished the year, it's what I guess the duty to tell you that is our, start of the year with, $900,000.
Started the year with how much?
I think it was, start of the year with 653, and we're gonna finish the year with, 636, based on $129,000.
Well, I can't hear
Finished the year with 636 minus 130.
You know, one of the things we probably need to get UMR to do is give us expected, rates, back into actual what, because you're probably underfunding a little bit.
Yeah, well, there's two ways I'm doing it. I put $750 a month, which is $9,000
Right.
per employee, plus, and I'm spreading that across all the departments, so we can see the cost there. Then we're moving another $125,000 at the end, which is a transfer from general fund that goes in on top of that. So my total premiums for the county that I'm budgeting are $1,227,000.
Okay.
I can't hear you, Carl.
Which is pretty close to what they're expecting,
Now, that doesn't cover the fees and stuff.
Okay, it's just close.
$1,227,000 is what our premiums that we're collecting, what the county's premiums are, and then the employees' premiums that I'm budgeting are $259,000.
The 259 is on top of the $1.2 million?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And the 125 is on top of that, too.
Okay, and then you're throwing another 125 on top
So
of
I'm
it.
budgeting for total revenue of
Okay.
$1,612,000.
Okay.
And I'm budgeting for total expenses of $1,612,000. Now, that includes claims, dental, medical.
Admin,
that
everything.
includes colonial premiums, that includes UMR fees, that includes tax
Okay.
insurance fees, that includes the stop loss premium, the guardian, for the employee, the guardian, the life insurance, and the transfer premiums.
Okay.
It's all.
It looks like you
And that comes to,
ought to be pretty close.
$1,612,000, that's not, the county doesn't pay all that, that's the total
Yeah.
number that runs through the fund.
But is that making a last-minute contribution there at the tail end of September?
Well, what I did there is I took $750, $9,000 per employee. We run that through payroll, but I budgeted for the whole 120 employees for 12 months. The fact that, especially the sheriff's department, you have a lot of turnover means payroll-wise, it doesn't get all transferred because a lot of people new hire don't start in insurance
Right.
for so long. But I went at the end of the year, and I went ahead and moved everything that we budgeted to move. So I moved the whole 9,000 times 120 people, even though payroll didn't move that much because of the way the coverage works. This is the first year I've done that, but I didn't move all.
So my bottom line question is the $750 per month per employee plus the amount we're collecting on dependents, would you say that in this fiscal year, did it meet our actual outgo?
We were talking about 125 short, the 125 that we did.
Okay, so yeah, that's the figure I remember, 125,000 short, or roughly 1,000 per employee short. So we might want to consider increasing that $750 per month per employee. And I understand whether you do it throughout the year or whether you do it as a lump sum at the end of the year. I think that psychologically, all these departments need to understand we have a rising costs in our health insurance, and we can't let it keep going up each year, whereas they don't really realize that if they keep seeing that $9,000 over and over, oh, it's costing us the same, it never goes up. That factor needs to go up so that when we have these discussions that, hey, we're raising the deductible or we're changing the out-of-network, we can justify why. Because each of you has effectively gotten a $90 a month raise or $80 a month raise because it's costing, health insurance across the board.
So $750 and add 125 as a transfer, I can just use $850 and not transfer. That's about what it was.
Well, and I know it's 6 one, half a dozen the other, but we all in this county need to understand the rising cost of our insurance plan, that we're trying desperately to not mess with anybody's benefits, but yet it keeps, at least this year it went up on us.
What about last year? Did it go up last year?
No, the year before last, the first year that we did the arm, we actually was saved.
And how much surplus was that?
Well, we ended up with 650 to start the year. So probably $300,000-$400,000.
Okay. Was that put into our pool?
Yes, it stays in the insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, I started this year with about 650, and I finished this year with about 500.
Okay.
Okay.
It goes up and down.
Yeah. Well, you'll have some good years, and you'll have some bad years.
Well, do we want to talk about, the out-of-network is a hot topic right now. Are there some other hot topics we should?
I mean,
get into?
not really. I mean, if you want to make changes just to your regular in-network benefits, that's certainly up to you. I am suggesting that you make some changes for the out-of-network to try to increase that steerage. And then as far as the stop-loss insurance goes, I would recommend that you either go to the 60 or the 70 on the specific. And, the chances you having 3 hits in any 1 year is unlikely. I mean, where I see that happening, the potential is that is when you have a carload of folks that are all employees.
How much?
Car wreck, something like that.
We're going from 50 to 60. How much would that save?
Saves you $33,000 a year. Okay, going from 50 to 70 saves you $65,000 a year.
The worst scenario that I remember is we had 5 1 year. And that wasn't too long ago.
Yep.
The other years, 1 to 2 at the most.
Right. I think it's a good bet. I mean, it's just like the aggregating specific. It was a dollar for dollar swap. That made sense to do that. And
Just jumping up to that 70 from 50 just makes me a little nervous.
Well,
Especially when we come
do
off
the
2
60.
years of no
Yep.
stop loss. I mean,
Yep.
I feel like this could be the year when we can have that.
well, I would say
What was
probably
that
take
insurance?
a step in the middle.
With the state, roll the dice.
But I would like to, I guess I'd like to know more about the nature of our out-of-network claims, and if it's carelessness, lack of education, I don't care, I want that, what is it?
Yeah. But what we can, from our standpoint, as far as the reports that we can run, will show where they went out of network and who it was. Okay, we can tell that, can't we? Now, I feel a little uncomfortable to pick up. Well, you don't have to, but
We need to know where it was.
so.
You don't
But,
think we need to know where it was?
I think we need to know where it was.
Where it was.
We need to know
Right.
done it?
I agree.
So, now, finding out their thought process is another story.
Well, we just.
I don't know how you do that, other than talking to them. Why'd you go there instead of here?
And if it's 5, 6, 7 people, a short phone call by who's our trustee? Cheryl. You say, hey, did you realize this? Did you plan this? Did you have an alternative?
Yep.
Or is it that important to you and you'd pay for it no matter what it costs you?
Yep. Well, we'll get that report for you.
Did somebody,
Hang on a second.
what if you increase that deductible out of network? Would that be an incentive to stay in network?
Well, he's saying there's several things that we could do. That's one of them. That's a real basic one, is raising that deductible. And again, I think we may know more once we know the nature of where this $200,000 is coming from. Maybe we would then be able to say, you know what, higher deductible would take care of that, or a surcharge on a hospital would take care of that.
Okay.
So I'm open to anything.
I want to explain once what happened to me. I was featured in the facility, and they were in network for the 2 years that I was going to them. I went to them, they didn't inform me they weren't out of network because they didn't renew their contract.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I got my bill, I thought, why didn't you tell me I would left and go to another facility where it was?
So that's a good excuse to me.
That's how they get me. Yeah, and I had this big bill.
You ended up paying a lot more than you thought. The county did too, and you wouldn't have done it if you
No,
didn't.
I told them that. I said, well, y'all ought to negotiate something with me. Why didn't you tell me? Because I've been coming up here for the past 2 years. But that's what happened in my instance.
And that can happen,
Yeah, I
well,
was going to do that. I wasn't sitting up with this deal.
And I didn't answer that.
I'm going to have to start asking when I was seeing.
Yeah.
You mean my network, right? The other thing is gone. They won't necessarily tell you whether they're in
Well, they didn't tell me.
And we're all going to have to start asking that question.
And
That's-
they only took my phone.
you're-
They only took my 25 callback. But
You're-
I've been using, I've been going up there for 2 years. It was fast track.
But we're going to, all of us are going to have to get educated, the fact that we're going to have to ask
And-
some questions. I'm as bad as anybody else about not knowing.
That's what I'm talking about, stuff like this. We need, that story needs to be told to everybody that she thought she was in that work and they didn't
Before you go.
renew.
Well, and I
And-
have a segue into that with some added value products that I want to show you that are in your booklet. There's a tool that's on the website, and I talked about this briefly at last month's meeting, is the My Healthcare Cost Estimator. So employees can go out, put in the provider, put in the service they're going to have done, and they'll know what the estimated cost is going to be. And it only will show them in-network providers, in-network facilities. It's not going to give you any out-of-network information.
So if I type in the stuff, it's not a network.
It won't show up. It won't give you any information. So it's a tool. We have brochures that we can have available to the employees during their enrollment meetings and talk about how that works. It's very simple, but you got to get that employee to use our website, logging in. Once they log in, it's just a few pieces of information to put in, and then it'll bring up that information for them. Estimated cost, in-network,
We'll give you the name, it'll start from the least expensive.
right, to the most expensive. It's going to give you options of who you want to go to and who you need to go to, but they'll all only be in-network options. They won't be out-of-network.
But the caveat to that is you have to be a registered user on the website. You can't just go and click this link and go. It has to know you're there, it has to know which plan you're in, it has to know exactly which network you fall into.
Because when it gives you the cost at the end, it's going to be based on your plan design. It actually uses the county's plan design. It says, so this will be towards your deductible, or this will be a copay.
Let me say this.
Yeah, that's included. There's no additional fee for this. This is a benefit that's on the portal already.
We had, last night, major outages all over this county. People were making calls. My wife made a call. She had a little magnet stuck on the refrigerator, exactly who to call and who to talk to. This here, when we finish this will be put somewhere, and I'll know where it's at for maybe 6 months. And then I'll forget where it's at. I think the biggest problem we have is people are trying, they want to do and save. I think everybody here is trying to save. But at the same time, if you can't find the information, I feel like we need to figure out some way. My wife is very good about looking up, getting online, and I'll have her call Tony if we need to, if we're not sure which way to go and what to do. And I think this has to be explained to our employees. This is going to save the county, which is going to help us keep prices down. And I know we've said it, and I know we've done it.
It saves them. And you know what? Employees will get online and shop for tires and cars and everything else, but they won't shop for insurance benefit and know the cost. This tool will help them do that. And it's right there on the homepage. It's a...
Yeah, but like you said, you have to be signed up. You have
But
to
that's
have-
real easy to do. You just log in, and if you haven't signed in yet, you ask for one. And it automatically will email you your user ID, you create your own password, and then you're in. So it's another tool, just like we shop for everything else, another tool to help you shop your benefits. It's online. It's not, you don't have to carry this brochure around with you. You can shop it at night, the next day you make that appointment, or you know what you've gotten into. You can print off the document and take it with you, have a conversation with your doctor.
And there's a percentage of your folks that'll do that, but your road hands aren't gonna do that. The wife might, you know, so.
Let me say this.
I shouldn't have said that, should have scratched that from the record.
Careful.
Behind that tool, again, I will make sure these brochures are available and we can speak to these. Tony and I will work on this information for communication's sake during the open enrollment meetings. The other document behind that is a teledoc. We talked about this a little bit last month. Just wanted to bring it up again. There is a per employee per month fee to have the program. The teledoc information can be added to your ID cards. And this service is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. So in the outage situation you have, and an employee is not feeling well, they can still get on the telephone and call the doctor, go through their symptoms, and then that doctor feels like they need a prescription, can call that prescription in to their local pharmacy. He or she will ask them, what pharmacy do you use? Get the phone number and they'll call in that prescription. Now there's a copay of $40. As the county, you can decide that you'll pay that copay on behalf of the employees, or you can split it. I think what our discussion was last month was keep the copay at $25, that's what it is on your plan now, and the county will pick up the difference, so that employees can use this. The advantages are nights, weekends, holidays, vacations, your doctors aren't there. You can call this number. Again, it's going to be on your ID card. Call that number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for general symptoms. It's not for everything. Let's see, I think they did the symptoms. For example, like flu, sinus infections, your general things that you might go to your doctor for. It's not emergency rooms, not at all. So it's just something I wanted to bring up again for you to keep in mind. If you wanted to have that rolled out for 2015, we want to make sure we have the brochures to talk about to the employees during the employee meetings. And then this program will be.
What is that saying?
$1.50 PEPM.
Per employee per month.
Per employee per month.
What is your average doctor visit cost?
Actual cost, probably about $60 to $90, depending on the.
So we're paying 25, that's not the fee that the
No,
doc agreed to pay.
not at all.
You're supplementing that by
Yes.
another double that or
Right. The
triple
county's
that.
paying the difference between the contractual rate and the $25 copay that your employees are paying. So this would be just flat $40. And there's no additional fee. The claim would run through your plan, just like a claim, but it would be $40. So if your Dr. Williams charges $90 to the plan and his discounted rate is $70, and the member paid $25, the county's picking up the difference between $70 and $25. And I can't do the math, is it $45? $45. The county pays that. In Teladoc, if you pay the $25, the county's only going to pay $15. That's it.
Christie?
So when you call in and they need a prescription or antibiotic, they will give you.
As long as it's not a controlled substance. But like, for example, you've got a kid that's got an ear infection, and you know it's an ear infection. You're in Florida on the beach, and you don't want to have a miserable rest of the week. You call in the 800 number, they call you a prescription, you go to Walmart, CVS, wherever you're
So
located.
you wouldn't have to worry about it. If you're on the other medication, worry about it. Tell them.
They know what medication, because they can see what you're on, right?
Well, you would have to actually fill out a little bio first.
Oh.
So they're going to know it based on what you told them. So that's a great point, Christie, because you don't want drug-to-drug interaction. But these are generally the real minor antibiotics. How they would affect someone on thyroid or blood pressure, I don't know that. I'm not on those things. I know that there's some
They
interaction
would know what they need.
based on your body.
And then that bio is done at enrollment.
Yes.
Likely they give you like what you normally get from your doctor, like 850 milligrams.
If that doctor feels that that's what you're needing, that's what they would call it.
And I would say that the majority of the larger groups are considering pulling out on cheaper, just in
educational deal. We've got to be sure that we continually remind them of that. Cost us about $2,500 a year.
So the last item is the healthcare reform checklist. There's a tab to that. That's just going through the requirements to your plan that we have to consider for 2015. There's not, the good news is there's not as many as there were last year. So to be on a positive note.
Just a placebo.
Page 1 is just indicating the county, your medical administrative renewal date, your plan year, your benefit cycle. Page 2, we're listing the benefits that you currently have that UMR administers, your medical and your dental plan. You're non-grandfathered, and right now your benefits are meeting the essential benefit coverage or minimum essential benefits. Item number 3 is actually highlighted in yellow, but I made a mistake. You currently do administer the benefits this way, that you cover all your employees, even the dependents who attain age 26 to the end of the month. So there's no change required to your plan there. B is a new concept that is going to go into effect in 2015, and it's treatment of rehired employees. And the government has said there's 2 options, and what this means is if you have an employee that you lay off or you let go or they quit, but voluntarily, and you're interested in rehiring them, if you rehire them within 13 weeks or up to 26 weeks, they do not have to have a new deductible and coinsurance start. I don't know how the county considers, when they rehire, if they do rehire employees, this probably may not have a lot of bearing on your plan. It's just something you have to now put in place. My recommendation is that you do the reinstatement of coverage at the minimum of 13 weeks. So that if an employee gets rehired in 14 weeks, they would have a new deductible and a new out-of-pocket to meet. So that's something to consider.
And I don't think that's a common thing here. I can see it in a lot of businesses where they, have annual shutdowns or something.
Restaurants, seasonal business, that's where this goes into play, and that's why it was rolled out. You're right, most of the my customers that are not seasonal, this is not a big impact. However, you have to make a decision, and it has to be put in your plan this year.
Okay. When are we going to make these decisions? Do we want to get a consensus now and then vote on it? That's what I'd like to do, so we don't have to re-educate ourselves here in a month from now. How do y'all feel? Does everybody understand that one? If you rehire an employee within 13 weeks, it's as if they never left. If you rehire them after 13 weeks, they're a new employee, they got to go through the waiting period. Or you can extend that to 26 weeks, which is much more liberal, and that allows them to be gone considerably longer and come back and be treated identically the same, 6 months.
I don't think that would apply to us because if we let somebody go, we can't hire them back.
Okay. I'm thinking 13 weeks. What do y'all think? And I know we're not going to make, these are not binding decisions right now, but if you'll just put in your notes that
Sure.
we're in agreement, if we are in agreement on 13 weeks.
Okay. Page 3, definition of a full-time employee. Your plan currently indicates that you have to work a minimum of 40 hours to be considered a full-time employee. The law is now changing to be required at a minimum of 30 hours.
I work my part-time 29 hours, and that's it.
So part-time, if they're below 30 hours, they would not be considered eligible for benefits. Anyone who works 30 hours or more would be eligible for benefits. So what I'm saying is you're going to have to reduce your minimum hours or maximum hours.
I thought we were at 30. No?
Our plan,
We're doing that now.
The plan document still says 40, we just need to amend the.
We're gonna
Change that to 30.
okay. All right. Part two of that question is the measurement period for the filing of the measurement period. 6 months. So you're using 6 months, or are you using the safe harbor?
Where does it say wrong?
Are you talking about the reinsurance thing?
Yes, yes. No, you don't have to, but what are you basing it on, 6 months or 9 months? Or the safe harbor is that you, this month, we're going to provide a report to you, to Christie, that shows all employees that were covered for the first 9 months of this year. And then you have to do a calculation, and I don't know what that
I do
calculation
all
is.
the national.
Yeah, okay. So you're doing the safe harbor. Okay.
Now, different kind of works with this, but their definition of part-time is seasonal. Even if they work 40 hours a week, they're just June to September or some on the road, they're not full-time. Is this a different definition than that?
Well, they're going to be considered in that
We can
snapshot.
still keep it at 29 weeks. Now, whatever time it is, we don't want to work. And that's going to be a totally separate issue.
And that's how you're going to have to take that snapshot, and you're going to have to average out during that time they work. Could they have worked 30 hours or more? And then you will have to have said, I have to offer them insurance.
But if they all just work 29 a week, then I don't work on that.
You shouldn't have to.
That's what it is, 29 too close.
Is 29 too close? I
We
can't,
make sure they don't.
because that's really close.
We look at their time sheets,
We'll do
we tell them.
28. Basically about 28.
Right, they'll work in less than.
So what I'm understanding is that you're going to use the safe harbor look-back period, which is that 9 months of information. UMR cannot do any kind of calculations for you. This is an employer law, but we are offering and will be providing the enrollment data for Christie to use to base that calculation on. Because there's a fee next year. It's called a reinsurance fee, which is helping subsidize the insurance out there that the government's offering.
And can I just say this, Chrissy's wonderful.
Yes.
Y'all really have to understand.
Hey, we've always said that.
Look, she has helped me educate another employer that couldn't understand how to calculate their fee. So I'm just gonna say, woo, Chrissy.
Yeah, I will second what Tony said. She does an awesome job in administration. I appreciate it.
The other thing is, we're pretty much, because we have legal rules,
Right.
different rules, five words, everything.
So we're using the look back, what do we decide?
The safe harbor look back, it's so
Safe
that's the
harbor.
middle section in item number 2.
Okay.
And I know that Christie's already filed for her health plan ID number, so I will be getting that from her and just completing that. Again, that is something that we're using to put on your plan. It's not going to be in your plan document. It is more for filing purposes that she will have to use when she's filing those fees and taxes that are required now.
I know what time she spent on that and what time I spent on that. I can't imagine the average employer's, this is going to be.
I know, it is that, yep. We do weekly calls on just healthcare reform changes. Your mental health parity is basically saying that even though mental health parity came to light in 1996, they've updated it a little bit for 2015 in the sense of you can't treat it any differently than you do your mental or your medical conditions. And they've added another layer in that residential treatment. So you're in compliance under your copays, because there's no differential in your copays for a medical doctor versus a mental health doctor. Item B, you currently don't cover residential treatment on your plan. I found it to be a not covered item. It will have to be covered starting next year. And it's due to mental health and substance abuse conditions. And residential treatment is an outpatient facility. There are contractual residential treatments in our plan. in our network. So we have to make that change to allow it, and it has to be treated like any other inpatient or outpatient facility. So again, if they go out of network and you're considering making those out of network benefit changes, this hopefully will steer them into in-network. The other thing is on your, under C, how UMR can help your members by staying in network is you do require prior authorization prior than being admitted. So if they're considering an out-of-network facility, we will actually try and steer the provider to consider in-network facilities.
We don't have that.
You do have that.
We do have that.
You do have it on your in-network, or on your, a list of conditions that have to have prior authorization. When we add the residential treatment, it will be added to that prior authorization list. But see, what you don't have is you don't have a penalty to keep them from going out of network. And that's been something that a lot of customers have put on so that it.
So you're talking about prior authorization. Well, what's not to do?
We do have a penalty for, $250 penalty for failure to certify.
Yes, it is, but when I was talking about those, you go back to the same hospital, they were no longer in
Did you say
there.
that was fast track?
Yes.
That's not hospital. That's a doctor.
But that does have to be pretty often.
Right.
It's like you saying the doctor took your card.
Yeah.
We talk about that.
In a hospital, they do it.
Yes, they do pre-certify.
But not the physician.
Right. And the hospital's the one that's gonna call UMR for pre-certification, the doctors aren't. They're the ones that will do that because they want their money. And I wanna know how much to charge that employee before they leave their doors.
And you're saying the doctor won't just because it's a relatively small
Yep.
charge, they're not going to mess
Right.
with it.
But those hospitals will do it. So on B, I have selected the second box because unfortunately you don't have a choice. You will have to add residential treatment coverage to your medical plan. And then C, you're within compliance.
Chris, do we have any idea of what the anticipated impact of claims is on it?
Less than like 0.01%.
Very small.
Yeah, it's very, very minor. And I don't believe that that's a condition issue on your plan. 6, you're well within compliance here, meaning that your dental employees get to select if they want dental or not want dental, and your vision is voluntary. Now, your out-of-pocket maximum, we have to make a change again to that this year. And the change is that last year you kept your out-of-pocket separate, meaning that we have a $6,350 out-of-pocket for drugs, for prescriptions. Meaning that's the most a member would pay on their prescriptions, and then they'd be at 100%. And with co-pays on your plan, you would be very toxic in taking tons and tons of drugs to meet that out-of-pocket. And in your medical plan, you have in-network, this is only in-network, you have that $2,800 out-of-pocket. Well, you can't have, the two plans cannot have or exceed the new amount, which is $6,600. So now we have to lower your pharmacy out-of-pocket. And it can't be more than $6,600 combined, so we have to also consider the $2,800 for your in-network individual and your $6,800 for your family. Because your out-of-pocket maximums cannot exceed $6,600 for individual and $13,200 for a family.
So what do we need to change?
My recommendation is, the only change you make is to lower your out-of-pocket maximum on your pharmacy and still keep them separate buckets. We track it, and we'll know, because we're going to share daily data with each other. Our pharmacy's on a different platform than our medical, so we'll send files every day saying, John's met $600 in a medical, you got to count that towards the pharmacy.
Okay.
So with the,
So it'll be 2,800, 32.
Yeah, exactly.
that's what I was just saying, if you kept medical at 28, it would just be the difference of the 6,600 for the
Right.
pharmacy.
Right. So now their out-of-pocket, instead of being $6,350 on the pharmacy, is now going to be $3,200?
You
$3,200.
said 6,000.
600, yeah.
Well,
Individual.
66.
So it's 66.
66.
it's 38.
38.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
What she's getting at there is all your co-pays, your deductible, your co-insurance, whole sheet match can't be more than, all add up to be more than $6,600 when the plan starts paying membership.
So how I would complete this is, I would select box 2, and I would show your medical to be $2,800 on the self-only, and $6,800 on the family. And then your pharmacy budget would be $3,800 individual, and again, can't do math anymore without a calculator, what the family out-of-pocket would be, which is $13,200 minus $6,800.
64.
Yeah, something like that, so it'd be about 6,500. So that's how I would complete this document. I will complete this and send it back over for your review and your sign-off before we enter any of this into our benefits. Okay? Page 6 is a second bullet to this same item, and I recommend you say no here, is that you include in-network copays must be included in the out-of-pocket maximum, but you don't have to include any out-of-pocket, you don't have any out-of-network copays, so it really shouldn't apply. So we're gonna answer no to that question. You don't want out-of-network completing and filling up anything in-network. It just, then you get to 100% much faster. Page 7, I have confirmed that last year we already included all of these benefits. We are your pharmacy vendor. We added the preventative drugs at no cost to the members. We added the contraceptives at no cost to the members. And on page 8, we did the preventative vaccines at no cost, and they can get them done either at the pharmacy or the provider office. You currently don't cover tobacco cessation drugs, so I said no.
Are those really expensive or something?
Well, they can be. Something to keep in mind is if you're looking at making premium surcharges for smokers versus non-smokers, the law now says that you have to then offer incentives for not smoking. You have to have treatment on the medical side that they can have, and then you have to offer the Chantix prescription items that allow the member to try to quit smoking. And they can be expensive. They're coming down in price because there's new ones coming out. So every time there's a new one coming out, the other ones go down. Chantix is the most expensive one right now in the market. It's a couple $100.
How long does that last?
The treatment program's based on how heavy of a smoker they are, and how, Chantix unfortunately has gotten a bad rating because what the effect on some people it has. Some people have really they've gotten depression, they've got, they've become very violent.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to start incentivizing non-smoking. That's just me.
Well, and Steve and I talked, and Tony and I and Steve talked about that this year. What we'd like to do is possibly add that in 2016, and during the 2015 plan year, let's gather data and start looking at program offerings, and then come to you and show you what the value would be and what the savings could be. This late in the year, it's kind of, we think it could be a savings, but then you could consider the premium differential, and you'll have the programs in place in the medical plan to support it and help the employee understand. We'll help you get there to be a non-smoker so that the following year you could be paying better premiums.
And how do you, give me an example of how you would incentivize that? Do you have a super preferred rate, or you have a smoker rate, in which case you pay 20% of your premium or something like that?
Well, one thing we talked about was really a couple of things. Smoking was one of the things we discussed, and for wellness exams was the other. Your folks are not going to do, well, I shouldn't say they're not, a lot of your folks are not going to do their annual check unless you put some kind of incentive in their form, you know. And so I was like, okay, whatever you're charging your folks now, you know, if you get your annual exam done once a year, then that's the way it'll remain. Okay, but if you don't, and you don't provide us with proof that you had your annual exam instead of your monthly premium, your paycheck, you know, so it's gonna go up $15 a month or whatever the number is, you know, some number that's gonna give them the incentive to go get that exam. You know, and give them a 6-month period to get that done, or you know, or a 12 for that matter. Starting, you know, come 1/1 of 16, if you hadn't gotten your exam in 2015, then your premium is going to go up by 20%.
How do y'all feel about that?
Well, I get it too.
I like it like it is.
Yeah, can we run a report on that?
We can run a, yes.
That's a good run
Back
report.
says Steve, I do not cover it.
I can't hear you.
I like do not cover it.
You're not covered at all?
Tobacco, yeah.
That's pretty harsh. You're fired.
Yeah, the same thing on tobacco. I was talking two different things here now. You know, one, wellness exams, okay? You have an incentive for wellness exams, has nothing to
Yeah,
do with
that's all
smoking
I'm
or
asking
nothing.
about right now. We'll come back
Yeah.
to smoking.
Yeah,
How do y'all feel about requiring them to get a wellness exam sometime during the calendar year 2015? And if you don't, come January 1 of 16, you're paying for your insurance, a portion of it.
That is becoming very common. It really is.
We have another self-funded group, about 300 folks, and last year they started the program where they actually had a drawing for like a $50 gift card every quarter. And we ran a report quarterly to see who all did it. And then whoever, within that quarterly, if they'd gone to have their exam, they were eligible for the little gift card. At the end of this year, whoever has not had that exam, their rate's going to go up next year. So they were sort of doing a little teaser, you know, making it attractive to go and get you in. But they also tied that to registering for the online access and doing your online health assessment.
And we have that. That's another one of those tools that's out on our website. And it's no charge to the county. Employees can take it. It's just a health risk assessment that you answer that based on your daily lifestyle. Do you exercise? Do you smoke? Do you wear your seatbelts? How many times do you eat out? Do you try to eat good? And it's a series of questions. And at the end,
What the other group found, there was a lot of people that maybe were diabetics and they weren't taking care of themselves. They weren't going to the doctor. But they did give them a year to get there. Because otherwise, it's really hard. You really could have started right now and implemented in January.
I agree, but we keep talking about this, we gotta start it.
yep.
I say start it January 1 of this year, follow through January 1 of 16.
What we did with the other group in the enrollment meetings, we actually, had the meetings, and we had it in a little kit, and we told them, okay, we're starting this new program, you're going to be required to do your health assessment and go online and register. And also, when you do, we'll run a report at the end of the quarter. It's a little bit hard to do every month. Quarterly's better. And, and that they gave them, they gave away 3 gift cards every quarter. But,
Who's tracking that, y'all are?
yeah.
And then-
We run the report and we give it to the employer, and then and say the first quarter you had 50 people that actually went online, did their health assessment, and those were actually 2 different things. The online doing the health assessment was one thing, then going and having your actual preventive visit was another. So, but we can run those reports, we give it back to the employer, they do their little drawing, and
Oh, it will get the draw.
And you gotta go online to get this assessment.
Be able to notify the ones that haven't done it yet, that, hey, you still have to done it.
so you can just run the report the other in a negative way, and just run the ones who have not done it.
Yep.
He said, I'm not saying they have a computer.
And if you do that, either monthly.
Well, in
or
that
quarterly,
case, I can hear the talk here that, well, some people don't have computers. Well, that's fine. We'll make them available. we'll have computers and we'll have somebody there that'll get you started if you'll come to the
And that's what
courthouse.
this group did. This was a manufacturing company, so obviously they're a little bit different than y'all, but they set up kiosks in their manufacturing plants as well as in their corporate office, and for those that weren't computer available, then they let them do it.
Well,
It does happen.
even if you didn't do the self-assessment, because, I don't know how much it does do, I already know what I eat too much. Not gonna make any difference when I think they're, but they don't have to have a computer to go to the doctor to get the wellness.
Right, it's true.
Well, and another suggestion is.
You know, I thought you said you had to get on the computer and do
No,
this.
just a
I said there was
Just self-assessment.
What, that computer, you could put down your
I would
weight?
suggest that maybe you get with the hospital and have them come do a well, because they do that at the hospital free. Just have them come do, even if it was a squeeze down health assessment, not health assessment, but a wellness exam, where they check blood pressure, do a little blood work, those things, kind of thing.
Instead of them going to their doctor?
Gary Bank does that.
Hey,
Yeah, Gary.
I'm just saying, if you get the hospital to do it, you're not paying for it. Okay? If you send them to their doctor, you're gonna be paying for it.
And,
So I would try to
The
get as many
hospital
as I
might
could.
come and do it free.
okay, and in hindsight, with this other, again, I'm talking about this other larger group, they had actually on-site biometric screenings. In that, out of 300 people, only 40 people came, but out of those 40 people, they found 15 people that either had pre-cardiovascular issues, they did not know they were borderline diabetic with high sugar, and all it took was a little finger prick to figure that out.
Have you defined blood pressure, high blood pressure?
Blood pressure was a lot, cardiovascular.
I do a physical every May,
Ever when?
every May.
Oh, man, I thought you said every month.
Get you a hearing aid.
Some of us need that.
Okay, then, in my family, on my granddaddy's side, there's prostate cancer. So I get blood work done for that. Sure. Just,
That's
genetically,
perfect.
it's there.
But there's so many people that don't. And by being, as Steve said, by having somebody come on site, that would catch a lot of people that maybe wouldn't go. But what they do is they find something, they say, you need to go to the doctor. And here's
Yeah.
why. And because, you have elevated this, you've elevated that, you need to make an appointment with that.
But what I'm saying is that I do this once a year, and I think it's good to do that. Sure. Because I had a good friend that passed away. He didn't do that, and when he found out he had cancer, it was too late.
Mammograms are.
So what's your point? Let's do it?
Well, I'm just saying, but at the same time now, I don't want the court dictating that people, you're gonna have to lose 10 pounds.
We didn't say that.
Okay, well, I don't want to get into people.
This is a start. Get yourself to the doctor and get a checkup. I personally think bringing the hospital down here may be a more watered down version, whereas I want to get some people going to the doctor that don't go to the doctor and identify some problems. They're not going to be punished for the results that are found, right?
No, not at all.
They can't-
If you find something early, then
I've been doing it for 10 years.
it's gonna help them versus being stage 4 or something worse.
And then when do you bring in the incentives to say, okay, we identified that you have, heart issues and you have diabetes issues. Now you better start taking your medicine, because if you don't take your medicine, if we see that you're not renewing that prescription and taking that medicine,
Yeah, I don't
Tag
think,
you.
I don't think you're gonna have a really hard time going that far. I mean, that's gonna be up between their, making sure they know about it is your first step. I mean, what you get them to do from there is
well,
like Carlson,
let's start baby steps. This first year, you get a physical.
yeah.
Well, wait a minute now. You're going to violate somebody's privacy. You're not sure, if you're not certain, if you go
Now,
too far.
all we're
with
gonna
it.
do, we can run a report that says they got their exam, they didn't get their exam. That's the only thing we're gonna do.
Did you say the wellness center or wellness physical, somebody came by, you had to come to the plant or
Yeah.
something like?
Yes, and I was just talking, UMR actually has a program where they will do an on-site biometric screening, and she said she thinks it's $69 per head.
Yeah.
which UMR could come and actually would do that, but you have to guarantee that there would be at least 25 people there.
And that would satisfy their doctor visit for the year?
That's just going to, that would be like what having the hospital come and do the little fingers, they weigh you, they check the BMI, they do the fingers, they probably take blood pressure.
But that doesn't meet the requirements of the diagnosis.
No, because I think that the mammograms, the pap smears, cervical cancer screenings, PSA tests, those need to be performed as well.
Do you, what if somebody, one of these centers was overweight and they continue to be overweight? Probably that's our biggest health issue in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
BMI is definitely an issue, and some plans have implemented. BMI is really hard to gauge, though. That's the amount of weight you're supposed to weigh. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
BMI is a hard thing because a lot of times if you're over what the government or what the BMI scales say that you should weigh.
That's gonna be the thing about it, though. The government's gonna throw a number out there that's gonna be
Well,
lower than what
let me give you,
really
for
needs to be.
instance, United Healthcare imposes wellness on us. And they offer the biometric screenings. And then if we don't fall within the criteria they set, the first time they did it, they did roll out the government's criteria. BMIs were, for women, was supposed to be 27. None of us met it, well, very few. So they've actually increased that BMI, and each year that we do our biometrics, we have to improve that BMI by 1% every year. And if we don't get our incentive. So I work very hard to keep my BMI where I can. Let's just say I cheat. During the middle of the year, I'm bad, and then it comes close to that BMI time, I'm working really hard at it.
But there is a way to do that, but it is. You have to, that's hard to do. I mean,
It is.
And you have to.
We're just suggesting, get the minimums, the mammograms, the pap smears, the PSAs, the colorectal screenings.
Do we build that into your required doctor visit must include these?
Well,
In other words, do we define for them, here's what you need to get done?
yes, actually wellness, and it's paid at 100, the member, if they go in specifically for that type of service, there is no copay to charge them. It's paid 100% by the plan.
They just can't go in and say, I have thyroid problem, I'm getting my blood work done at the same time for my thyroid issue, because that puts a diagnosis on the claim, and it will not get paid at 100%.
Chris, did you have a question?
What if, like, women on pap smears, if the doctor says, well, now you don't need it once a year, you go every 3 years.
That's
You
what
just
my
go by,
doctor
like,
said.
the rule is, though, if it's
Sure.
like Tanya, when you look for something every 3 years, you make sure.
You don't want to colonoscopy every year.
Yeah.
No, I follow those guidelines.
You look for those guidelines. So the guidelines say you don't have a colonoscopy until you're age 50. PSAs aren't required on men until age 40. Mammograms, they keep changing the age on that, but you could set that date, that age factor. You could look at what the government's recommending and then make your own recommendation.
But then y'all don't have to track that.
We do, and we can. We have parameters we can put in there, anyone over age 50, and look at the
Well, I
colorectal
understand,
screening.
but like, if Steve went to have his colonoscopy this year, you're gonna have to track that 5 years from now, he's got to go back.
Don't do it 5 years, now it's 10.
Well, I gotta go back in 5.
I told him 10.
Let me tell you what I
There's a
think.
lot of detail.
Everybody's different depending on,
Well, and you don't have to be that detailed.
Right.
told you
I mean, you know, the first step, I think, is just, guys, go get your annual physical. And,
Because the
try to listen to what the doctor's
doctor
telling you.
is included in the presented visit. When you're at the doctor, they're not going to do anything.
Do we give them a piece of paper, you need to show up at your doctor with this, so that they understand this is a visit that's going to be paid for entirely by the county, and here's what we expect to be done at that visit, so that we don't run the risk of, well, I had to pay for mine. Well, you didn't give the correct information.
If you do on a piece of paper with certain things on there, then you're going to have to be, it may be things that you're theoretically not paying for normally, because the contract may have it where it's on a different, do we have it set up on the governmental screenings? Like, for example, somebody had smears with no problems prior. You know what I'm saying?
Right, no family history.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because right now, tax returns are one of those things that they don't do every year unless you've got some sort of history or you're at a certain age. So if you give them a sheet of paper, we're gonna have to amend the contract to say that you'll pay for that every year, if it's not already. Right?
Right. So I will look and see if we've got any generic, like preventative information brochures that just recognize and recommend wellness exams.
You could say it at the recommended guidelines.
Right.
You could say, we want you to have what is recommended for your age and family history, and not put certain things on there, because every person might be different.
Right.
Well, I don't want to get in a situation where at the end of next year, a guy says, well, you can't charge me this. I went to the doctor back in July. Well, you didn't get a wellness exam. Well, I had to go up there because I had a cut finger and he weighed me I want them to understand you're going to the doctor for a specific reason.
And that's what I say in those developing zones. I say, you cannot go if you're gonna go, and you may be going every 3 months because you got lupus. You can't incorporate that in your wellness visit and have that be paid 100%. They're not gonna do it, because they're gonna stick a
I think it's
diagnosis on it.
this, if they're gonna monitor this on an ongoing basis, and every quarter they're gonna tell us who they're showing has not been yet, then we're gonna contact those people with payroll.
Yeah, warning, you have 6 months to go.
If he says, well, wait a minute, I'm gonna Dr. July, well, he's gonna need to get back and say, take me off this list, and he's gonna contact y'all. Either you're gonna agree to take him off the list, or you're gonna tell him, oh, you've gotta go back to have something else done.
And that might be a situation where they did do that in that office visit, and a doctor coded it as a diagnosis that's not associated with a preventative.
I understand, that's more work on y'all's hands, because there's no way we can do that.
No, because you won't have the claims data on that.
Okay, are we willing to do this during the calendar year 2015, require that they get a wellness visit with a doctor?
Get one anyway.
I'm not worried about you, you're covered. Are you willing to make that a requirement to tell our employees now at sign up come December?
Well, I don't mind. In fact, I think it would be real helpful for all of us to get physicals, everybody, once a year, because I think the cost will go down, because people will find out they're diabetics, they will find out all these other things, and I sure don't mind doing it. But I don't want to get to the point we start saying, well, you need to lose about 20 pounds.
That's not part of the discussion. All I'm asking you is, are you willing to tell the employees,
I have no problem
get a
with it.
physical done for January of 16, you're gonna pay,
$20 a month.
no, it's gonna hurt a lot worse than that. I say $300 and $300 a month.
Well, I wouldn't be for that. I'm for having the wellness, but I'm paying about 100 and something now.
$280 a month for the fitness.
They're not paying any of their costs, right?
No, but you're talking about charging them more than they're paying to have.
If your spouse is on it.
Well, I'm expecting the spouse and the dependents to go to the doctor too.
Well, you're talking about the spouses too in this deal?
Yes, sir. We're making less money off of them. You know, they're the worst deal of all, spouses and dependents, because we're getting paid so little for it. I'm just throwing you out a number, but it needs to be a number that's an incentive. Ooh, I better get that done.
You charge them $25 a month, they're gonna go get it done. It's not costing anything to go get it done.
Yeah.
It's not costing any premium now at all.
No. $25 a month, and you can see, if that doesn't seem to get their attention, well, then the next year you can go $50 a month.
Wait just a
I don't
minute.
think 25 is it.
Wait a minute, you said somebody's obese. We've got people weigh 100 pounds overweight, and they have a wellness check that says you got all these problems because you're overweight. Next year, they go back, same thing. What have we gained?
Well, they're at least getting their wellness done. Eventually, it's going to set in that maybe I should start doing something.
Well, most of them know they should do something.
Talking to them about that as well.
Do I
Well,
now?
he's right. At some point, we need to start incentivizing what action are you taking
Right.
based upon what you learned at your doctor
Absolutely.
visit.
But if you do all of that at one time,
No, I'm not
you'll
saying.
have, it'll be a detriment
One step.
versus an advantage of getting people out there doing the right thing. Go get that exam. And then you hear that message that, oh, I am obese, and maybe I do need to start doing some things.
That doctor thinks this is gonna continue
Right.
to make your health work. He's gonna
Right.
recommend you do this. That-
Yep.
I want the doctor telling him to do
Yes.
that. You know.
Yep. So, but the first step we're recommending is just to get them out there to get that exam. They may be
And
obese.
let them know this is the shape of things
Yes,
to come.
absolutely.
We're going to start making sure that you're taking care of yourself, or your insurance is not going to be as wonderful as it was.
And I heard, Tony's got a client, I've got all kinds of clients, so it's not like y'all are reinventing the wheel out here. There's clients out here in this area that are doing that to their employees now too. They're requiring wellness exams. They're requiring them to lose that weight. It is very, very common amongst employers to do that.
Christie, we're going to wrap up here pretty
Okay.
quick.
One quick question, the retirees that we have, we would need to send letters to them saying you need to
Yes,
get your wellness
yes.
done for this.
Absolutely. Everybody's on the same
It's not
rules.
just the current employee.
Everybody's under the same rules. Okay, what else?
Well, and then-
Let's plan on doing that. I didn't get an answer from everybody. Are y'all willing to take that as the first step in 2015? Okay. We'd like to proceed, and that'll be the one and only step for the calendar year 2015 that'll be a new hitch come sign up
Okay.
time.
All right.
The second thing you need to decide is if you're gonna change any of these co-pays, deductibles, we're talking about the out-of-network changes.
Yes.
Deductibles.
Well, we can't take any action today, but I think we've laid out for them. You're going to come back to us, somebody in a couple of weeks, and say, okay, we need an answer here.
Right.
But we can go ahead and discuss it right now, so that when it comes time on an agenda, we can just say, yeah, we're going to approve what we talked
So you're gonna put
about.
it on the agenda sometime in October?
I think we should, but I think right now, while it's fresh on our mind, let's get a consensus of what we're going to do.
Judge, I'm for leaving things alone, just the way they are.
Would you be willing to attack the out-of-network problem that we've got in any way?
I personally think that an out-of-network situation, I think we just need to, I think it comes back and people go to these meetings, they listen to them, and when they walk out that door, they forget about them
That's
and what they should do.
Helps.
And,
Now, we can, as it relates to that, we will run those reports that we talked about earlier to find out where that's coming from, okay? Is it one person? It's not one
We can
person.
postpone that decision until we can kind of see a summary that I can share
Yeah.
with the commissioners. Okay, here's, we've identified the situation, here it is, and they can use that to make their decision on it.
A lot of it might be like what Tanya went through. As far
That'd be
as,
an awful lot of them.
Well, that's- I understand that.
Low dollars. But yeah, it'd be good to
I
know
mean-
if everybody in the whole county was guilty of going out of network somewhere,
Yeah.
then we're not
Well, I
issuing
think you're gonna find out is that it's a provider and they involve something. It could be,
Yeah.
say it's East Texas Medical Center in Pittsburgh, it's out of network. It's not, it's something like.
But if the
Right.
employee doesn't know it, who would they be coming to complain
They
to?
are in
Christie
that.
or Cheryl saying, hey, what's the deal here? Why am I paying so much?
We'll go straight to them, it's a conflict me.
Well, that gives them the opportunity to train them.
She's got a report that, and she took out the doctor's visits out of the out-of-network claims. There was only, and ambulance. So there's only 4 claims that were in hospital. So it's doctor utilization, more than hospital.
So it's doctors that are not.
These were the biggest doctors.
Well, let us run a report,
Yeah.
and get the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, close, a better decision.
It went up 226,000.
228.
You know, at this point, I would say out-of-network adjustments is the only thing that I'm interested in right now, that and requiring a physical next year. And I'll reserve my decision on what to do with out-of-network incentives until we see a report.
Okay. Stop loss change,
Stop loss change.
thinking bump it to 60, go from 50 to
That's
60.
just me. That's my opinion, 60. What do y'all think? Going from 50 to 60 to 70, keeping it the same?
Mine's keeping the same.
Keep the stop loss the same and 50? Any particular, I'm just curious why.
I don't have a particular reason, I just didn't want to change it.
Well, that makes those premiums 301 times.
Huh?
That makes the premiums $301,000.
So,
Anybody else have a comment on that?
You know,
We're going to have to vote on this at some point.
It's kind of a roll of the dice if you go and, you know,
It
like we
is.
have the last couple of years, we would have been, what, 66,000 ahead. You can look at it like that, but we may have 7 people the last 2 years. You don't know.
Make the call.
I'd go 60.
Go 60. Mike, what would you do?
I don't think I'd have a problem. If you go back and look at it, but
Wouldn't have a problem.
why don't you put that savings over to the side where we can say, hey, we can use this when we have 5 or 6 people.
Well, that's where it's at.
Space in the plan, space in the pot. Anything you can save on premiums. Do you feel comfortable going to 60, or you want to stay conservative, keep it at 50? Do you feel bold and want to go to 70?
No, I thought we were going over 70.
Thought we were going to vote on this.
You thought what?
Just get a sense how you feel.
We don't have any action item on the agenda. These decisions will have to be formally approved. I just want you to remember what your decision was while it's fresh on your mind, rather than going, well, what was that discussion about?
I don't want to make a decision, but I know that we have an extremely Cadillac plan in healthcare. And I believe that we should get in closer to the real world in the health plans. I'm talking about deductibles, co-pay, the whole thing. And
I'm just asking you one question about stop-loss insurance right now.
Okay, well,
You want to go over it one more time?
no, I know what it says.
All right,
Well, I'd go to the 70, I think.
You'd go to the
But
70.
anyway,
Okay.
but I don't know that. I'd like to,
Okay.
60 would probably, I don't think we're going to leave it at 50.
I agree. I'm for
So
60.
that, but that's just off the top of my head. I might have a reason to change my mind.
Let me ask you a question, kind of what you were talking about. I don't know that I see that in our plan. I don't know that the plan for the offering employees is necessarily Cadillac plan. I think what we charge the employees is Cadillac.
Your plan.
Wait a minute,
His vote.
wait a minute, say that again.
Your deductible.
Well, yeah, that's what we charge them. That's what I'm talking about charging employees. I'm talking about the
Payments that they have to pay.
no, I'm talking about you go to the doctor. Do we cover something that nobody else covers?
No, I don't think so. No.
It's just what the employee has to pay makes it capital. Either the premiums or the deductible, or the makes it capital.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
that we're paying for you to have it.
Exactly.
Everything, ain't nobody else.
Everybody else is just making it much more of an affordable option at the benefits and the rate.
Apart from the fact that it's cheaper.
What do you say? I didn't hear you.
Well, it's not that we're providing coverages more than anybody else, it's that we're providing it cheaper than anybody else. That's what makes it happen.
Just like the city. I brought it up. Tony knows, with the city, they pay a lot less than we do, almost as good a coverage. So it's just, but you're right, Carl, it's just that we pay more. And that's not.
What else
real
would you
world.
like to accomplish here?
I mean, just real real quickly, it's not something we have to spend a whole lot of time on, but your life, all your life coverage stayed flat. The only thing that went up a little bit was the voluntary vision, is that correct?
Correct. And 3.3% of that was due to taxes and the Affordable Care Act, but the employee-only vision rate went from 9.56 and went up to 10.13. So very little.
Yeah.
And the bulk of that was due to the Affordable Care Act taxes.
And that's for the spouse of the child?
Now, that's your employee-only rate. The employee spouse rate went 1609 to 1706.
So it's slightly different, okay.
Yeah. And we have copies of all
That's all the piece, you know.
We just started this program last year.
Right, but the basic lock did not increase, the voluntary lock did not increase. And if y'all recall, the basic lock,
Flat, is it 50 across the board?
exactly, which had been one-time salary. And voluntary life, we had a lot of people take voluntary life that had never done it before because we had the new guarantee issue applied.
But they're paying for that.
They're
Yeah,
paying for all of
that's
that, yeah.
They're paying for that extra vision.
And they're paying for the vision, yeah, exactly. Don't want it extra.
When would you like to make these decisions here in the upcoming weeks? I don't have Commissioners Court for another week and a half on the 13th. 14th. I'm
When do
sorry.
y'all need to know?
Well, the sooner the better, for, you know, because that gets us
If we
prepared. But,
did it to
you know,
the
if
first
you're-
meeting, or you want to do
There's
the
not
first
gonna be a
meeting,
lot
it's
of
fine with me, I'm ready.
changes, you know.
Let's do it the first meeting, the
Okay.
morning meeting, give them ample time. That's October 14th. It's a Tuesday. It's the day after holiday. It'll be 9 o'clock on Tuesday the 14th.
See,
I can change that.
Further than that. October 14th.
I got it.
Next option is Monday the 27th at night. And I don't know if do we need to bring Chris back for that? We don't, do we?
I mean, y'all some meetings on that would cost, but I mean. it's
On what-
even-
on what day?
on the 14th, but it's even green here, I mean.
Well, I'm giving y'all the choice. What'd you say about Dennis tomorrow?
That's all right, I can change it.
How many, oh, yeah, I can do it. What you see, we got to make,
Morning of the 14th,
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock. And what we'll do is we'll sign off on all the Affordable Care Act options that you've recommended to us, and there's a couple of them that need our input, stop loss, and any changes to our plan, which right now, I'm hearing we're going to think about what to do about the, you're going to present to us what the findings are on our out-of-network issue so we can make the call there. We're going to make a vote on the stop loss limit, and then we're going to decide, formally approve requiring physicals during the calendar year.
You want to get you that out-of-network information prior to the meeting, so you have it a while?
Sure, that'd be great, yeah, if you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than spending a bunch of time discussing that, I can kind of share with these guys individually what the findings are.
Just to get it to the commission.
Yeah. You know, we'll look at that and they'll tell us, you know, was it an exceptional thing that caused that, or was it, you know, multiple things? So then we can make a decision.
Could be $4 or $5 in
It could be, I mean, it could be. You know, it may be instead of a hospital copay, it may be a change in the, well, we don't have any copay for our network, so subject to deductibles, I don't know. We'll see what it looks like.
Say the copay wouldn't make any difference.
Well, there's no out-of-network copay
On a doctor.
for a physician's visit, so.
You don't go to schedule. But did you include in the list the bucket accumulation for in and out network?
Oh, well, that's one of the things, one of the things that we'll look at.
Yeah, recommend separating your deductible buckets and your out-of-pocket buckets, so they're truly separate. In-network only fills up those in-network buckets, and out-of-network fills up the out-of-network bucket. Right now, they fill up each other's buckets simultaneously.
Yeah, okay. Put it in layman's terms, it on your list.
I'm just making a list here, so the stop loss is on this, but the accumulation, or the other things you said?
Whatever signing off on these changes required by, or these approvals required by Affordable Care Act, stop loss, setting that limit, and then requiring physicals during the coming calendar year, and stating what the penalty will be in 16 if you don't do that.
What about the deductible in network?
We'll discuss all of those.
We did?
We will. In other words, we'll need to vote on whether or not to change any of these terms in the plan here on this 2-page sheet here.
Y'all need to be thinking about that between now and then.
All righty. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Do y'all want to discuss with them when it gets time for the enrollment?
Sure.
I mean, it's just.
I know Ron's told you, he emailed me, and I said we talked today. I mean, is there a preference? I know normally you do it in November prior to Thanksgiving.
Right.
Do y'all care?
I mean, I don't think it needs to be set the week of Thanksgiving, because we have a lot of employees that make the travel.
Oh.
That's what I said, but I said the week prior to Thanksgiving is what I suggested to Ron.
Yes, and then I'll get him to come the week
He wants
after.
to come after. He wants to not be here when we're here. He thinks that was confusing.
It was, and I don't want that.
Okay, and I don't care.
He could come the first week of December.
Right, that's what we discussed. But I just want to let you know that the guy that's coming up, that you need to tell your employees to make sure they are here, because that's when they're getting part of their education.
You got actually set the date.
Yeah.
And we'll get together and I'll let the judge and the court know.
I'll give you a range, Christine, and just kind of.
But it's very important that all employees attend these at the time they are set. If they can.
Just really, I'm kind of along these lines to beneficiary designations with all your folks are very important.
Yes, I was thinking about creating a form and having that as part of the enrollment as well. To have to fill that out.
They might have a form for you.
I was gonna make like just retirement, Long Hill, Garden, whoever they got one, I want to list it out on one piece of paper. So they can, it's simple.
Okay.
Because we keep that form anyway, they don't.
It stays in.
I'm going to move on to item number 2. County Judge requests an executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 regarding personnel matters with possible action to follow. Thank you, Steve. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hockaday.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hinton. All those in favor of going into exec session at this time, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it is 12:33, and we have completed our executive session. That motion was made by Commissioner Hockaday and seconded by Commissioner Hinton. So I'll ask for a motion that we go back into regular session.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Fields. We'll jump right back in where we left off. Item number 3, consider and possibly appoint a replacement constable for Precinct 2 to fill the unexpired term of Cleve Johnson, deceased, through December 2016.
Judge, I make a motion we appoint Ray Barrett as a replacement for Cleve Johnson.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hockaday to appoint Ray Barrett as the new constable for Precinct 2. Second by Commissioner Hinton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that is a unanimous vote, 5-0. Moving on to item number 4. Well, first of all, let me congratulate Ray Barrett. Let me also say, for the record, we certainly appreciate our other 2 candidates. This was obviously not an easy decision. We are all very glad we took the additional time that we did take and not rush this decision. But not often do you get job applicants of this quality and consistency, and we had 3 top-notch guys. So we're grateful for them for stepping out and putting their name in the hat. Item number 4, discuss and possibly take action on the appointment of a county mental health officer.
Judge, I make a motion we appoint Ray Barrett.
All right, motion by Commissioner Hinton that we appoint Ray Barrett in his dual capacity as Constable to handle the responsibilities of County Mental Health Officer. Second by Commissioner Fields. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that also is unanimous. Item number 5, discuss and possibly take action regarding mental health transports.
I make that motion, we appoint Ray as a mental health person to do the transport on the mental health.
Motion by Commissioner Hockaday that this role as well, and again, this just continues the same method that we were doing before. Constable Johnson had done the role as mental health officer, and he had handled our transports for mental health needs. And so that is the motion by Commissioner Hockaday that this be continued by Mr. Barrett, second by Commissioner Hinton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that, again, is unanimous. All right, we will, or I will make some phone calls here very quickly and let these gentlemen know what the decision is, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Fields. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.